welcome in, welcome back. So, I have a message here today that's a little bit interesting. I guess we'll see what it becomes as we go along. And I have to say, I am insanely jet lagged today and delirious. So, hopefully, that doesn't weird you out or come through. I'm going to see how I do today with communicating. Because I don't know, I felt this urge. I felt this urge like there was something we need to do a reading on. And so we're going to see what this is all about. So, oh, and by the way, if you can hear my neighbor talking through the wall, I am so sorry. She really can be loud. I don't know why. She's yapping on her phone very loudly. Okay, so what I'm already getting is there is like a very old, almost ancestral cycle that's being broken at this time for you. Or rather by you, like you are doing the breaking of the cycle. And the cycle has something to do with trusting the wrong people and being tricked or being trapped in cycles or dynamics that are unhealthy. So something has happened, or there's been some kind of a come to Jesus moment or whatever, where you have basically called judgment, so to speak, on a situation. So that means you have seen it for what it is, and you've had some kind of clarity around the nature of this dynamic or this relationship in the sense that you've seen it for being toxic or you've seen it for being unhealthy. And your ancestors, we have an ancestors card here, so that's why I'm talking about them, because I am feeling that this is almost like people in the spirit realm that know you are like helping you or have been helping you to see this situation or to have it kind of unravel in a certain way so that you can become enlightened to it or to the nature of it. Because I think that you've been held in some kind of stasis through this last little while, or kind of up until recently. There's been a kind of like stasis or static hold that has kind of almost bound you in relationship to this thing, place, person, situation. And that is what is ending now. It's like coming full circle. There's like a full circle moment coming, or it has just happened. And I think that it might feel sudden, like the closing of this cycle will feel sudden, even though it's been maybe a long time coming, or it may have taken a very long time, a large chunk of your life. What this has to do with, like the context that it relates to in your life, is something around planning, something around home and family, and also the exchange of money and goods, and like an equal give and take. So this could be anything that kind of connects those themes, right? Like, or that in some way involves those themes, involves those kinds of things. So this could be like a partnership or whatever, a living situation or a money situation or a legal situation. Something that involves a person or a place and the act of planning and the act of coming together. So I think that it could even be like you realized, like right before you married someone, what they really were like, or what they were doing behind your back, or you saw them a little more clearly than you ever had before. So this kind of like stops you from, um, yeah, it's like a revelation has happened. And it does feel, yeah, I have Two of Cups in reverse here. So there's like something probably about a partnership. And it comes in kind of hot and fast, even though, you might be like, wow, how did I not see that? But it feels sudden. And it is you calling judgment, so to speak. Sometimes I wonder, I'm not sure what like a tarot phrase is and what's like mainstream. But what I mean by call judgment is you've like you've called time. You're like, hold on a second, hold on a second. And you've been open about the truth of the situation, and which has allowed things to be revealed even more. And someone is like, I feel like somebody, either you or the other person, or both people, or the two sides or whatever of the situation, they both feel kind of foolish, I think. There's like a fool energy here. And that could be that someone feels like they've been taken advantage of, and the other person has this kind of like Knight of Cups energy where they've been like coming forward with this romance and this offer and this warmth. But the other person has this kind of, I feel like they feel like they've been taken for a fool, because the way that this fool is looking at the Knight of Cups is like with such suspicion. I never really noticed that before. And one person is like, why don't you trust me? And the other person is like, I just don't. I have my reasons, or I don't know what my reasons are, but I just don't. But I think there is kind of a clarity moment here. And it is filling out a cycle. There's something about this that feels like a closed loop, an ending of a dynamic or a way of being that was causing both parties to feel, or to actually be in an unhealthy dynamic, or to be trapped either with each other or in some kind of pattern. And so the trickster card is here to tell us that the way that this is unfolding, it feels maybe it feels really negative or really difficult. And if that's the case, know that on the sort of when things right themselves and up again, like when, because things kind of feel maybe topsy-turvy and upside down and like confusing, eventually they will right themselves and everything will make a lot of sense. And the trickster often does that, where it comes in to kind of like wash things or to confuse things or to cause chaos. And then eventually when things rebalance themselves, more like, something good has happened through that process, something beneficial or something like progressive, something that needed to happen. Sometimes chaos comes in order to create balance, in order to create the outcome that we really want, that we're really, really hoping for. So that's why the trickster card is here, is because this might be feeling really unpleasant, or this might feel scary, or it might feel in some way just like, yeah, like intense. And you're not really meant to look at it as negative or positive in any specific way. Understand the kind of neutrality of an experience like this, because it's necessary for you to be able to move into the next phase of your life, to be able to have the clarity and to make a call about this situation. Because if you don't make a clear judgment on the situation, you will just kind of become more and more bogged down by the dynamic or by the situation itself, which was trapping you, and you won't be able to actually like live freely. So this is supposed to happen like this, in this fulfilling kind of energy. And before, I heard in my head, what's the context of this dream? So, so someone's like been kind of almost like fantasizing or dreaming their way through something and not having a good grasp on reality. And I think that that's maybe the problem, is that there's been a dreaminess to this whole situation where things maybe have been being planned on, not on solid ground. And what's happening through this process of like judging the situation for what it is and realizing what it's really made up of, which is these kind of like codependent structures, addictive structures, or toxic structures in some way, maybe controlling. Someone like, it's almost like, yeah, one or both parties feels hurt and wounded through this experience. However, the wounding is part of the healing. Wounded healers here. It's saying like we often, like, we actually have to go through painful experiences or experiences that feel like wounds in order to actually become whole and to like heal. And I think in this particular situation, there is something, there's an element to this dynamic or to this situation that is so toxic in a certain way that it has to be like the band-aid needs to be ripped off or something. You know, like something needs to happen that will upset the status quo, which is not healthy right now. And that will hurt, yes, but it will heal in the long term. So that's something you need to know so that you don't feel like too upset or too overwhelmed by the situation. Because actually, there is a lot of positive energy here. There's like heart centered, kind of like honest, a desire for honesty. There's a desire for love. There's also a desire for freedom and a fresh start and like fresh air, like spaciousness. And the intention is to create an experience of equality and reciprocity. And that's what needs to come in. Like the context that's changing is that I think this is what you're realizing. If you're the one who made this judgment call, is like, hold on, this is not feeling healthy. This is feeling very unhealthy. Whatever the situation is, it's not working. Something needs to be reestablished. More balance needs to be reestablished. More planning needs to happen so that we can all feel like we are being welcomed into this experience rather than forced or pushed into an experience. This has to feel reciprocal, mutual, and collaborative rather than just like forced or pressured. So that may have been what's happening, is that someone might have been like emotionally pressuring you with this Knight of Cups under the Devil, and you're feeling like, hold on, I don't trust that. I don't like this energy. I'm going to call judgment on whatever this is because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it has, like I'm not getting all the information. I don't trust it, whatever. For whatever reason, it's giving you some signs that it's not correct. And the ancestors are here to say, I also think that card is talking about like this could be a pattern. This could be like a family pattern or like an ancestral pattern that you are here to resolve and end in your own life. One where people get kind of like embroiled in things or get like stuck in relationships they shouldn't be in, or marriages, or like they don't read the red flags, or they just ignore them, or they like allow themselves to be pushed over. Like, I don't know. There's so many different ways this could go. Or like marrying someone for money and getting stuck with them and they're the wrong kind of person, you know, that kind of thing. And so Trickster is coming in to create some chaos so that you can let go just enough so that you can reestablish a new beginning and resolve this cycle. Okay, so that's your reading. Thank you so much for coming. See you next time.